We did a recent polling and we asked people, what are the things that keep you from moving abroad? The number one thing that kind of paralyzes you. And a whooping 49% said it was fear. There were other factors, but fear was definitely the biggest factor. So we want to unpack that today and give you some insight into why that is and what you can do to mitigate that, because a lot of us have made the move. So if you want to hear more, stick around. Don't go anywhere. All right. I polled my subscribers and I got about 70 votes. Now, you may think it's not a large number, but it is significant because it was random and people were just open about their answers. All right. 49% responded fear of this, fear of that. And we're going to go over all that and try to give you some answers. Because the idea is to get you to think about your situation and get some insight and see what can I do about this, or is it it's a done deal. I can't do it. And that could be a possibility. All right. If this is your first time seeing me, I am Maggie Lazar. I am a retired nurse practitioner, and I have been retired in Panama for 3 years now. I am enjoying retirement. It's nothing what I thought it would be, but it is invigorating and exciting, and I'm very, very grateful every day. I am also the creator of Single Women Retiring Abroad, SWRA for short, a group of sassy older ladies like myself who have made a conscious decision to leave their home, retire abroad, spend their last days somewhere other than home. That takes courage. Create community. That takes hard work. And reinvent themselves. That takes focus and insight. But the ultimate goal of SWRA is to create a newer model of aging abroad that is sustainable and affordable. Affordable, very important. So if any of the stuff that we talk about on this channel are of interest to you, I invite you to like the video, share it, and subscribe to the channel for more. So I put that poll in not the chat, but on my YouTube channel. And I was surprised to hear from my subscribers that fear was the number one reason they are not able to move abroad. Now, you've heard me talk on this channel about how much of a difficult decision it is for anyone to leave whatever they know and decide in your 70s and 80s to just leave everything and move to a foreign country. That takes guts. That takes a lot of soul searching and research and self-encouragement and self-talk, but mostly courage. Because fear is an emotion that keeps you from experiencing the world. And sometimes you need to kind of dig deep and find out why you are fearful. Some people are naturally cautious and they don't like to take risks. I've lived with them. And some are just, no biggie. That would be me. I'm one of those. I will go forward and experience it. If it goes well, bravo. If it doesn't, I nurse my wound, but I keep it moving and I move forward. So some of the fears people told me in that poll, that was the fears that are keeping them from moving forward. Number one is fear of the unknown. Well, that goes without saying. And even those people like myself who are gung-ho and risk takers, that doesn't mean you don't experience fear. Because to leave a country that you have grown up in, that your whole family is there, your support system, everything is familiar and easy. You kind of move around seamlessly. You don't have to think about it. For you to decide all of a sudden you're going to leave that, then you got to think of your biggest why. The why must be big enough for you to say, all this is so good and so comfortable and so comforting. Why am I thinking of leaving that? So the fear you experience is fear of the unknown. You are going to experience things that are new to you in your 70s and 80s. If I were 30 and 40, something new is exciting. But in your 70s and 80s, it's downright frightening. Different people who look different, talk different, speak a different language than you're familiar with, that you know. You are going to be among people who think differently from you, who do things kind of weird from where you're standing, right? Different food, different way of looking at life, different cultures, different traditions, different healthcare system. Everything is different. So how do you embrace that and say, bring it on? I can handle it. It's not easy, sis. That is hard. And again, remember, you, my audience, are the older single woman. You've experienced lots of things. You've even traveled, but going to live in that space is a whole different ballgame. The housing, the comforts that you've experienced, you've enjoyed for decades, may not have those. So how do you embrace that fear? How do you get over that, the fear of the unknown? I wish I had a pill that I could give you that would say, okay, get thee away from me, fear. That would be lovely, right? But I believe in conquering that fear by getting as much information as you can, speaking to people, joining groups, talk about your fears, and watch people tell you, well, sis, I was where you were, but I've conquered my fear. And now I'm over here where you want to go. So you get courage from listening to those who have gone before you and tell you, it may be hard, but you can do it. You want to be in community where you're being supported and encouraged to take that step, to know that you can mitigate all of that. Fear of people don't look like you, learn to embrace them. Fear of the language, learn the language. Fear of different food, try the food. Visit, do scouting trips. See how you feel among the unknown, the strange, the new, the different. The other fear people talk about is fear itself, fear of being alone in a strange place. You don't have your neighbors that you can call on. You don't have your children close by to say, come see about me. Fear of being alone in the crowd, being the new kid on the block, being the strange one who looks different, dresses different. And trust me, they can pick you out of a crowd. It doesn't matter how much you try to blend in. You know, I'll get on the metro. When I first got to Panama, they used to say, Hola, eres panameña. Are you Panamanian? And I have to say, no. They're like, parece Panameña. Now, it's like, hi, how are you? They can pick me out of the crowd. I don't know why or how. But the fear of being in a place where you are the minority, some people are uncomfortable with that. We, people of color, we've been the minority. So it might be, I'm not saying it is, it might be a bit easier because we've always been kind of looked at, stared at. And that's one of the reasons people enjoy being where I am in Panama, because people just don't care. They don't stare at you. But still, The feeling that I am the immigrant, I am the minority, it's humbling. And I think it's a good place for everyone to be once in a while. So you can see how the other half lives and how they live their lives. How do you move around in a place where you're in the minority, where you don't demand, there is no expectation. You got to find out everything. It's not easy. But you know, somebody said this week in our chat here in Panama that courage is not the absence of fear. It is the ability to move while being fearful. That's so powerful because I use self-talk a lot for myself and I encourage others to do. You can do it. You know, those affirmations. I'm beautiful. I'm strong. I'm courageous. I can do this. And sis, don't expect others to do that for you. You speak that truth to yourself. Speak it to yourself until you internalize it. Then you say, yes, I can. Another fear people mention is fear of getting sick in a strange place. That one is a big one because as you get older, as you know, things happen. This body starts to go down. You need this surgery, that replacement, this and that, in addition to just crazy accident that can happen. How do you maneuver that? That is a reality. And you hear the stories, you know, people getting sick, having to go back. They give you a diagnosis. Wherever you are, you can get the care that you need. Yes, it is real. It is a valid concern. But how can you mitigate that, sis? Again, by encouraging yourself and look at others, watching those videos that said, you know, like Jackie has people on her channel to say, oh, I had a knee replacement. You listen to Patty. Patty had a gallbladder taken out. Listen to people's stories and see how they manage it. Again, information is going to lower your fear because if you feel prepared with the right information, you can move forward and say, they did it, I can too. But I would not stand here and tell you that is an easy thing because the medical stuff, the healthcare stuff that can happen to you run the gamut, right? If you fall, you break a bone, you go to the hospital, they fix you, you get a little rehab, and you on your way. This is not as bad as getting a diagnosis of cancer or something that would require long-term treatment. So your fear is valid, sis. It's not that I'm telling you you shouldn't have that fear. Far from me to ever tell anyone you shouldn't do anything. If anything, I'm validating what you're saying, that you are right. But look at it straight and don't run from it. Educate yourself, get information, and then look at you as a person and say, can I make it work? Even with the information that I have, do I have what it takes? That is so important. All right. So we just went over fears. Are you enjoying this? I hope you are. So please remember to like, share, and subscribe. The next item that was 33% of the respondents said debt was the thing that was keeping them where they are. You know, we come from a culture of you don't need to budget for anything. If you see you want it, you go get it, right? That's gotten a lot of us in a lot of trouble. In addition to that kind of debt, you know, I'm just going to get the card and just buy this, buy new furniture, buy new clothes, new bags, new shoes. The other kind of debt, that's commercial debt, right? And then you look at the car. Oh no, I have to get the brand new off of the press kind of car that costs like as much as a house these days. People were paying $700 a month for a car payment, and I was in awe until I had to pay more than that. And you're like, oh my God, what has happened? So debt definitely is with us. Student loan debt, mortgage debt, commercial debt, taking care of grandkids debt, grandkids education debt, medical debt. Oh my God, it can be overwhelming. And unfortunately, a lot of us were not educated earlier on, first of all, to not get into that much debt, but how to get rid of the debt. And you know, you've been told paying the minimum payment, making the minimum payment on a credit card means you're going to be in debt for life because you're not going to touch the principal for decades. And those credit card companies that keep sending you those 0% APR for like 2 months or whatever, and then you're like, oh yeah, I can get this. Well, once that period ends, there you go slap with like a 24% interest rate. Seeing people go into those cash places, give you a cash advance. Those are traps too, because the fees and they charge you, it's crazy. So you're on that Ferris wheel going nowhere. You can't see because you're like neck deep into the debt. Have you been to a debt counselor to tell you, to help you craft a plan on how to pay that back? Last month or the month before, we heard from a doctor who said she had over $400,000 in debt, she was. And that the debt was so overwhelming, she said she was sitting there one day with a gun in her hand, wanting to end it all because she did not see how she was going to be able to get out of it. But out of it, she did. So when there is a will, there is a way. When there is discipline, there is a way. So sis, what I would tell, and I tell my kids that too, is that delayed gratification is your friend. There is a difference between a need and a want. Now you go in the hospital and then you incur like thousands in debt. That's not your fault. So you have to figure out how to repay it. And I know it seems like a long process, but if you are diligent, you can pay that debt off. So what kind of debt are you under right now? Your house, yes, it is a debt, but can you pay your mortgage? And how is your mortgage? Is it like 50% of your paycheck? You've been told, if you listen, that it shouldn't be more than, I'm thinking 30%. That's including insurance. Yes. Commercial debt would be the first one you need to get rid of. And I have told people when I do consultation that if you're carrying a lot of commercial debt, because these people don't play, they want their money, you should really try to bring that debt down before you consider moving. That's my recommendation. You may or may not agree. Because I feel like you cannot move to a country, especially as a retiree, and enjoy yourself if you are thinking of all that debt. And how do you enjoy yourself over here? Because you still have to pay off that debt from here. So that kind of keeps you from fully enjoying your retirement on this side. Because how about doubling the payment? How about speeding up the repayment plan? Maybe you need to move back your plans 1, 2, 3 years. And if you do, that's probably the most courageous thing you can do because that debt is yours. It's not going to go away and no one's going to write it off if you die. So the debt situation is really, really, it's like a trap. You feel trapped, but you need to be committed to paying off your debt because you don't want to be taken to jail. You don't want to declare bankruptcy. Yes, it could be difficult for you to stay stateside while you repay your debt, but it is the right thing to do. So this is a fear that is valid. It's rooted in accurate data that situations you can't get away from. Yes, you could still play the lotto. Who knows? You might win sometimes. The little scratch offs. I've never done those. The third category, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. The third category of factors that keep people home, it's family misunderstanding and friction. I was talking to a sister the other day, and of course, I'm not going to say her name. She was saying how she was a firstborn and how caring for her aging parent still befalls on her, even though they are siblings close to the mother. You know, we've seen that before. This is not new. We've seen that playbook before. I always tell people you need to start preparing your parents and your sibling years before you decide to move. But if it is a now situation, how do you handle it? If you are the main contact person caring for your aging parents, it's going to be difficult. What kind of family dynamics are you dealing with? Do you have siblings who will say, oh, we're happy for you, sis, we'll take over? Ooh, this is hard. This doesn't happen as much because there usually will be resentment. Well, that's your job. Oh, no, I'm busy. I have this and this and that because you took it on without holding them accountable that this parent is their parents too. Yes, that's why I say you need to start before you decide. But if you're in it right now, you can try having the conversation with them and with the aging parents, if that is a possibility. Because I did a video on, yes, they will guilt trip you into keeping you where you are, and then you feel like you can't escape that situation. Then there is the misunderstanding of family members, even if you don't have responsibility for an aging parent. It's the guilt. Well, you know, you've never been anywhere. You're not strong enough for such a big change. What about the grandkids? Are you abandoning us? Oh, that's where the guilt comes in. Are you abandoning us? Your sibling, your children. You mean you're not going to be around to help me with the kids after school, vacation, school holidays? You're a grandma. That's your job to help us. What do you mean you're leaving? You're dealing with all that. And again, sis, if you are of the mindset that, well, you know, they're right. Well, you know, I don't know what I was thinking. They got one up on you, sis. And again, I'll say it depends on the family dynamics. Because if you're somebody who is assertive and you know who you are and you've been living your life, it's easier for you to say, well, you know what? I've raised you. I've done this. This is my time now. And some sisters have done it. So I want you to know this is not unique to you, that situation has been going on with other families. And then that's when you pose a question in your Facebook groups that you should be part of. How did you deal with that? And people are so open to say, DM me privately and we'll have a chat. Because I feel it is a little bit difficult to preserve the relationship with your family members while being assertive and firm in your decision. The people who say that the family situation keeps them where they're at. Are you strong enough, sis? Can you speak for yourself? Can you say, this is my time now? Because I know there's that little fear in the back of your head that says, yeah, you want to go? Go ahead. But when you get sick, something happens, don't come crawling back to us. Oh, yeah, they got you on a string. How do you respond to that? Because it is a possibility. You John Swa, because we say we're going to help you. We're going to help you get ready wherever you are, at least in Panama, so that if anything happens to you, you don't have to rush back because those family members are waiting for you to say, I knew you couldn't do it. I was waiting for that to happen. Aye. So sis, you got to be strong. You got to be assertive. Sometimes you got to put the family members in their place. You got to say, you know what? I understand your concern. You validate their concern and their fear if they are presented in a positive fashion. If somebody is going out of their way to be mean, and I would cut them off. But you know, I'm not a cut off kind of person. I always tell you, you need to find ways to mend the relationship. But it shouldn't be paralyzing. It couldn't be the guilt that you've allowed them to put on you that keeps you down, because you're going to be sad, you're going to be resentful. How healthy is that? It's not healthy for anyone. All right, sis? Okay. The last one is sick. Yes. You know, you're a woman of a certain age. It's not, you always hear me say, it's not if, it's when something happens. Are you a person that when something happens, you want lots of people around you, somebody to massage your head, somebody to wash your feet, somebody to give you some medicine, and somebody else to feed you the food that you like? Are you from a family like that where you have that kind of support? I don't know too many people, even on that side, that have that kind of support. I don't. Everybody's so busy and self-absorbed. We are so into our own little world. It's hard to get somebody to even bring you some soup or check on you. You have your emergency button, you can call, I've fallen, I can't get up. But you're gonna be alone in the hospital, alone in rehab. So what's the difference? What's the difference if you're there or here? At least here, you can have a SWAT sister say, hey sis, what can I do for you? What can I bring for you? So you got to reframe your mindset, sis, that being sick, getting sick is inevitable. And you kind of have to prepare your heart that when something happens to you, you may not get as much support as you expect. You may have to have strangers help take care of you. People who don't speak your language, you feel like, what if I'm sick and then I have to figure out how to talk to them? I don't want to do that. Well, that's on you, sis. That's a decision that you need to make. But I'm trying to say to you that if you are afraid that if you get sick, you're not going to get the same level of care and support that you would get over there, well, maybe you should stay over there, right? And I'm kind and I'm saying it kindly. But if you can't accept the notion that if you get sick in a strange country, first of all, that the care you receive may be different. Uh-oh, I'm meddling now, okay? Because that was one of the main factors for people choosing a place to retire. Healthcare, the quality of healthcare, the accessibility of healthcare, and the affordability of healthcare. A lot of us tout Panama as having all three. I hear people say the same thing about Mexico, about Ecuador, about Colombia. I don't know about up in Europe. I've heard somebody talk about Indonesia, that, they can afford it. And in Thailand. But it may be different. The doctors, caregivers, nurses, they may not speak your language. They don't understand your culture. And you have to say, well, I guess I'll be okay. I think one other thing about the ability to do well abroad is just to not have expectations. Don't bring your expectations to the new country. That creates problem for everybody, not just for you over there, but the people around you and those of us who are there trying to live a peaceful life. Yes, it's a total mind shift that you go into a new situation where people are different, that things are done differently. The slower pace of life, the medication may be different. The way the doctors approach things might be different. Are you okay with that? I am. I say to myself and to my family, if something happens to me, I don't want you to come over here throwing money, grabbing me, putting me on a airplane to take me over there so I can get the biggest, the brightest. No. Sister here has lived long enough. Do the basic, keep me comfortable, and let it go. Let it go. But that's me. I'm not saying you should think like I do, but I'm saying if that is a fear of getting sick that keeps you from moving abroad, if you change your mindset and say, you know what, I'm leaving myself open to the newness of things, to things being done differently, I'm going to embrace it and make the best of it. Making the best of it is a good mantra to have about anything when you move abroad, because lots of things are going to be different. And if you allow them to stress you out, you're not going to be a happy camper. But if that creates fear that is strong enough on this side that you cannot move and consider moving over to this side, you need to take stock, sis. All right, in conclusion, the number one reason, according to my poll, very unscientific, that people cannot feel paralyzed, they cannot move abroad, leave wherever they were, wherever they are, to consider going somewhere else is fear. Fear of the unknown. Oh, so many unknown. That sense of discomfort, that sense of not getting your footing, and feeling unsure about everything. Yeah, it's uncomfortable. Language, fear of getting sick, the loneliness. I don't even remember if we talked about that. Feeling coming into a new country and being all by yourself, not knowing anyone. But what I tell you is that so many of us started that way, but now we have community. So you can do it too, sis. Remember, I talk about courage. It's the ability to jump, to move while fearful. Yes. And then the other one, debt. I've always told you, if the debt is ginormous, you probably should consider working on that debt first before you consider moving abroad. But somebody else might tell you something different. I'm just giving you my opinion, my suggestion. No one can make you do anything you don't want to do, sis. You do you. Family concern, responsibility, interactions, misunderstanding, downright anger at you even considering leaving, being branded as a deserter. Ooh, that hurts. You have got to prepare your heart for that. But should that keep you from doing what you know is the best thing for you? That is a question only you can answer, sis. And the last one is the fear of getting sick. In our old age, this is definitely a significant fear, well documented, this is a valid fear, because we will get sick. But if you reframe your mind about how to handle whatever it is, my fear is being in pain. And they also, I saw a poll one time when they polled some physicians, nurse practitioners, medical people on a higher level, and they say, if you were sick and they told you that there was nothing, there was no cure for whatever you have, would you want treatment or would you go for palliative care where you just kept comfortable? 90 plus of them said palliative care. So what does that tell you? The doctors know. The ones that are pushing you for treatment to treat something that they know they can't cure. A system that relies on you spending, being a consumer, even in the medical situation. but they themselves would want it. But why are you pushing it on me? Again, I'm just sharing information with you. I'm not telling you what to do. All right? So look at your situation, sis, and see what is it that is keeping me paralyzed where I am? And is there anything I can do about it? Why do you watch videos of people who've made the move and then you yourself feel paralyzed? So you have to address your fear. Is the fear real or is it imagined or is it up here? Can you really make it or you just so scared of the unknown, of being in a new place, not speaking the language? And we addressed that, what you can do. But take courage watching people like myself who did it, came here knowing nobody. No, I'm not popular or anything, but because I'm on YouTube, people come here and they see me. But we had to create community. I had to create community. I don't have family. So if I get sick, I need somebody to know how to get in touch with my daughter and say, and my daughter knows, oh, mom said, hopefully she'll say that. No, my wishes. You know, they have this thing, this pamphlet called Seven Wishes. Share that with people. I tell the ladies, I say, if you don't hear from me, walk slowly to my appointment. Don't rush. But again, my number one fear, I don't want to be laid out on this tile, having fallen and in pain and nobody can find me. Yes, I don't want to be in pain. But don't be in a rush to try this and that and that and that. Sister Maggie is okay. If the time comes, I'm ready. Don't try to keep me here under also. No. All right. All right, sis. So I hope this gives you some insight into this very unscientific poll that I did, and people responded that their fear, and it's validated. It's not something, we're not trying to pull something out of a hat. This is a real human being who said, I'm afraid of getting sick, and I'm afraid of being there by myself. I'm afraid of getting sick over there and having to go back or no one to take care of me. Talk to yourself. Reframe your mind. Speak positivity into yourself. Look at others who've done it and say, well, you know what? If that 81-year-old could leave her home and come to Panama alone, I guess I can. If my sister Debbie could take her mom out of a nursing home and bring her here, I think I can. It's all about perspective. It's all about how you look at things and your willingness to take that leap of faith, that step. And it is a leap of faith. I'm not going to be, to sugarcoat it. It's not comfortable. But should you not try it just because it feels uncomfortable? What does that say about you? But remember too, I said, it's not for everybody. It is not for everybody. So I'm not pointing the finger. I am not saying yay or nay, do it, don't do it. I'm saying look at yourself and look at people who've done it and tell yourself, if they can do it, I can do it. Don't let just unsubstantiated fear. I mean, the death is like, but if it's just your family members or just you're afraid that you don't speak the language or people look kind of different and you don't like that, I can help you with that, sis. All right. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I will talk about something totally different next time, I'm sure. And, my goal is always to give you information to help you on your journey of relocating and enjoying your life wherever it is you've chosen to go and spending it the rest of your life. All right, sis? God loves you. I love you. I'll see you in the next video. Au revoir. À la prochaine. Bye.